Hello, welcome. This is yet another sunset in Temecula. The extreme close-up. I love extreme close-ups. And this is our sun, the natural sun, the sun that has been rising and setting in our atmosphere for many millennia. No one knows. People want to say they know, but how could anyone know how much time has passed between civilizations? Carbon dating exists, but even then, it's an approximate. It's a estimate. If life is just an estimate, then we can't really say that presently we're living in certain times, right? No, I think presently we're living in uncertain times. But where did I leave off? Oh yes. We have some context. We shared a reading brought to the table by Jamie Eisman, who has now, what is the right word, surrendered his seat at the table. And now there is a process beginning of transition acceptance, which is challenging. I think the process of acceptance is challenging. Any process is challenging. If it's not challenging, then that process is going to get boring very fast. So the process of acceptance is happening, but not without confusion, sadness, depression, loss. All those feelings are happening, and I think it's only fair to conclude that the human beings involved in this story are suffering. I mean, if you're not happy, then you're suffering. If you're experiencing loss and sadness and confusion, death, then you're suffering. So I think it's fair to suggest, again, that these people are suffering. And how could they be suffering in the midst of this gift? Elijah Aaron Steele, a gift from God, a miraculous birth that no one knows about. If it was a miraculous birth, which it was, why does nobody know about it? Which is fascinating, because it seems that all people want to hear about are miracles. It seems that all people want to hear about are examples of miraculous events, extraterrestrial sightings with the afterlife, experiences with hauntings, magic, People want magic in their lives. They want magic to be real. And a lot of people believe magic is very real. I think believing in something is simply a matter of choice. If it wasn't a matter of choice, then we couldn't stop believing in something. In other words, our belief that the earth is flat could never change if we couldn't stop believing in something. Rather, many people now believe the earth is round. And even still, some people believe the earth is flat. And wow, look at that, look at that. Just crisply just fixed on that horizon. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's my view from my front porch. And it's breathtaking sometimes. Breathtaking, a really amazing sight to behold. And so it should be easy to conclude here, right? That, oh, well, what a blessing. What a blessing every day. Kristian, you're blessed every day. These people are blessed every day with a beautiful sunset. And that would be a true statement. And yet, hard to appreciate every day. And such is true about so many facets of everybody's lives. The blessings that we are given every day, we struggle to see. The blessing of Elijah Aaron Steele, believe it or not, I struggle to see. And I can not finish this chapter, but finish that statement demonstratively without much explanation, because a struggle is exactly, the daily commitment and routine effort of following through on a project, if you will, for lack of a better word. All projects require some kind of effort, work. Most science experiments require routine experimentation so that you can rule out all variables. Raising a child is no easy task, does not come with a blueprint or a manual, even though thousands, it seems, of people write books about how to parent. None of those books can tell me what is wrong with my son when he's crying. And as much as I want to put my faith in others, I believe my faith has to be put into God. And that the only way God can help me with Elijah is through communication. And I believe it's with Elijah, which is not going to happen for time. And so if Elijah can't tell me what's wrong with him, then I have to put my faith in others, which is a struggle. And so that is the struggle. I don't think it's has anything to do with Elijah the baby being my baby, being my son. That's not a struggle. That's an easy statement to accept, an easy reality to accept. I think it's interesting, that grouping of trees in the middle almost looks like a duck or something lying on its back with a big full belly and just an open beak, like a puffin bird lying on its back. I think that my son is going to see the world in a way that I never saw. I'm excited for all of the experiences that my son is going to have. However, lately I have been struggling with getting excited for the experiences that I am going to have, which are not all going to be the experiences that Elijah is going to have. In so many ways, I wish I could just grow up with him. But I know that I have a whole bunch of growing up to do myself. As I think we all do, you never stop growing up. No one ever stops growing up. Eventually, you grow up so much that you grow old. And then eventually you grow so old, you die. We all die. I think that's what makes us human. After reading the Bible a lot, I believe that dying is a product of having a life that was not lived righteously, and a life that walked away from God and not towards God. I believe if you're walking towards God, you're doing the very best you can to walk with God, to let Jesus lead your path. If those are the things that you're doing, I believe you'll end up living a longer life. It sounds like a truth maybe that people would not want to hear. I think many people turn to God when they are ready to die, and they are so sad and depressed and hurt and confused and fearful about other people that they turn to God, because God, well, let's be honest with each other, God's not gonna, open up the heavens and descend down upon you and speak to you. That's not typically what is going to happen. And while there might be some people out there who say that is happening to them, that's very interesting. It's never happened to me, and yet I believe God talks to me every day. So people turn to God because it's just very easy to not hear all of the hurtful things that you would hear from other people. those things you would not expect to hear from God. And so when we are so lost, it's very easy to turn to God, because God is always there, and we won't hear God hurt us. And that is comforting, because so many people are afraid to open their heart to others because we are worried that others will judge us. Others will counsel us poorly, and it will lead us even further astray. Because subconsciously, even though we don't realize it, we are all struggling with being astray, lost, and trying to understand what does it mean to be found. I'm still trying to understand that. I don't think I'm alone. And yet sometimes I feel alone. I feel lonely. And while that's enigmatic, it still remains true that I am not alone, because God is there. And so I must understand that I can always turn to God. You can always turn to God. We all have God. Whether or not we believe in God is still a struggle for almost everybody. And then if it were true that it was not a struggle, if it were true that people all believed in God, then why would the world be so messed up? And if it were true that the world is so messed up because everybody believed in God, and if that were true, then it has to be also true what Paul warned us about in Revelations. So let's all accept that collectively, in a collective conscious manner, no one wants to all believe in God. Because subconsciously, in a collective manner, we all understand that in the end of days, everyone believes in God. Everybody. And so if everybody does believe in God, then we truly are in the end of days. But like Reverend David Price said to me, I'll never forget his name because the price is right. Like Reverend David Price, it's been the end of days since we crucified Jesus. We have been living in Revelations since the day he resurrected. The day that he resurrected was the day that he ascended. Not necessarily the day, and so the process began. And once Jesus ascended back into heaven, that was the beginning of the waiting period. That was the beginning of the prophecy of what would happen, what's to come. Cryptocurrency is obviously going to put us all in one currency. And while we call it cryptocurrency because it sounds sexy right now, it's eventually going to be called e-currency, which will eventually just be called currency. And once everyone has that, once everyone's on one currency, well, then it's only a matter of time until everyone starts to believe. It's only a matter of time until, which, let's be honest, the reign of, God's alter ego, the opposite of God, because of nature has demonstrated one thing: life is balance, everything is balance. Good has bad, up has down, left has right. So if there's a good, if there's a God, there's a bad, there's a devil, right? So, it even stutters me in the moment. So if there's a devil, if that's real, then we are certainly living in the days where the devil rules the world. But this was a pretty sunset. People tell me my videos are way too long. And I just think that if I'm just allowing it to let me counsel myself and others to counsel me through these confessionals, these stories, these sunsets, then who cares how long they are?